got punched in the face walking home.
Tonight, the man accused of that harrowing attack charged with misdemeanor assault after allegedly punching 27-year-old Michaela Tonato in the face this week. That arrest comes a day after 40-year-old Skaboki Stora was charged for this reported assault on 23-year-old Hallie McGuckin.
I was literally just walking and a man came up and punched me in the face. Oh my God, it hurts so bad.
Stora, a fringe political candidate who once ran for mayor, has an extensive criminal record, police say. And earlier this week, a third man was charged, accused of punching a 57-year-old woman in the face. The arrests come as dozens of women have taken to social media, sharing stories of allegedly being randomly sucker punched across New York City.
I was punched in the head in New York City.
He goes, sorry, and then punches me in the head.
He spit all over me and then punched me in the side of the face.
The trend placing many women on high alert.
It makes me feel like a little bit paranoid.
It's definitely been scary.
Overall crime in the city is down, but data shows misdemeanor assault is up more than 10% compared to this time last year. 2 of the men arrested have not yet pled.
We move on now to the urgent salvage and recovery efforts in Baltimore. These massive cranes are now being used to remove wreckage from the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Crews are working around the clock after the deadly bridge disaster. And tonight, we're hearing from a motorist who says he was one of the last to cross the bridge before it collapsed. Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Tonight, 5 days after the collapse, the first pieces of debris of the Francis Scott Key Bridge blocking Baltimore Harbor now in the process of being removed. The start of a grueling process. Divers and other crews preparing to cut up pieces of the tangled steel to be lifted out of the water. That task made more difficult by dangerous debris. Sharp metal and electrical wires sent flying when that container ship lost power, colliding with the bridge.
We're talking about wreckage. We're talking about pieces of the Key Bridge that are in the water.
State leaders unable to say when the closed port tied to 8,000 jobs will reopen, saying their focus is on recovering the bodies of 4 missing construction workers presumed dead. That blocked off vital roadway, leaving people like Larry DeSantis, the head baker at Herman's Bakery, in the lurch. Every day for 16 years, Larry taking the Key Bridge back and forth, commuting in the overnight hours between his 2 jobs. Larry telling us he was one of the last people to cross that bridge just before its collapse.
What was it like seeing that video?
Yeah, it was. Well, like I said, it makes me think. You know, I mean, I'm really lucky.
You're lucky to be alive.
No, exactly. I mean, if I had been 1 minute later, I wouldn't be here.
Locals here still reeling. Pam Rigby, one of the several catching their first glimpses today of the Baltimore skyline without the Key Bridge.
It's different from seeing it on TV than
seeing it in real life.
Yeah. Right. Even though we're far away, you still feel it.
This collapse having such a huge impact on this community. Jay O'Brien joins us live from the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And Jay, what is the latest in the search for the missing workers?
Mary, the remains of 2 of those construction workers have been recovered, but divers have had to temporarily suspend the search for the others because of how dangerous officials say conditions have been out here on the water right now. Clearing all of this remaining debris is essential to that ongoing search effort. Mary?
And we, of course, are thinking of their families tonight. Jay, thank you. And tune into This Week tomorrow morning. Martha Raddatz speaks with Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen about those recovery efforts in Baltimore.
Now to a major data breach at one of the nation's leading telecommunications companies. AT&T is saying it affects more than 70 million current and former account holders. ABC's Alexis Christophorus is here with more. Alexis, good morning. What a headline.
Yeah, for sure, Gio. Thanks. Over 70 million, as you said, current and former AT&T customers had their personal information leaked onto the dark web. Now, this sensitive data started showing up online about 2 weeks ago. The telecom giant says the stolen information is from 2019 or earlier and impacts 7.6 million current customers and nearly 65.5 million former ones. The comprised data may include names, passcodes, social security numbers, email and mailing addresses, phone numbers, and birth dates. It does not appear to include financial information or a person's calling history. The company says it has launched a robust investigation supported by internal and external cybersecurity experts. Now, AT&T has already reset the passcodes of affected current users, and it's calling and emailing all of those impacted. The company is also offering free identity theft and credit monitoring services. The data breach is the latest black eye for AT&T. Remember, last month, a software update gone wrong triggered a nationwide cell phone outage, leaving millions of AT&T customers without service for hours.
Tonight, Pope Francis presiding over a nearly 2-hour-long vigil, marking the start of Easter, one of the holiest days in the Christian calendar. Despite battling colds and respiratory challenges throughout the winter, the 87-year-old pontiff looking determined, but was led in a wheelchair before delivering his sermon.
Per Cristo nostro Signore.
How does the Pope look, and what does that say about his future in the Vatican?
The Pope is always looking a little more weak, a little older. He has more trouble breathing.
It comes after growing concerns for the Pope's health. He was expected to take part in the Way of the Cross at the Roman Colosseum Friday night, but canceled at the last minute. The Vatican saying they wanted to preserve the Pope's health ahead of the events this weekend. Tomorrow, the culmination of these sacred days. The Pope will preside over Easter Sunday Mass, and like in years past, tens of thousands.
Governor, welcome back to Fox News Sunday. We know this is an exceptionally trying time for you, for the people of Baltimore, of Maryland more broadly. Can you tell us anything about where we are in recovering those who are still missing and investigating what happened? I mean, the president has talked about the need for emergency federal money to flow in there, but do you assess that eventually others may be held accountable and also contribute to what's going to be a massive rebuild?
Yeah, our prayers continue to go out to these families who are just living a nightmare right now. And also our prayers going out to these first responders who have been working 24/7 to try to make sure that we're both giving the closure to the families that they need and that they deserve, and also making sure that we can continue to open up this channel. And so the thing that we know is there will be an ongoing investigation. There needs to be an ongoing investigation as to what happened. I want that investigation to be speedy, and for anyone who needs to be held accountable to be held accountable. And at the same time, we have got to get this channel opened. We have got to get commerce flowing again, and we have got to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah, just a couple of notes here on the data about what happens at that port. Axios says the port supports more than 15,000 direct jobs, more than 139,000 indirect jobs, generating about $3.3 billion in total personal income. There's a massive impact on your community there.
It is, but it's, and it's not just a massive impact on Maryland. This is a massive impact on the national economy. We're talking about one of the busiest ports inside the entire country, a port that handles more cars, more heavy trucks, more agricultural equipment than any other port inside this country. So this is not just impacting Maryland. This is impacting the farmer in Kentucky. It's impacting the auto dealer in Ohio. It's impacting the restaurant in Louisiana. And in Tennessee. This is impacting the entire country. And so it really does become a national imperative that we can get the Port of Baltimore up and going again. And the support that we're seeing, it's not because anyone's trying to do Maryland a favor. It's because the national economy relies on the Port of Baltimore being up and running.
Yeah, and sort of a two-part question here. Getting the port open and running, at least operational at some point. Any idea on a timeline for that, and then much more long-term for getting the bridge rebuilt?
It is, but the whole operation is a remarkably complex operation, and this is pretty unprecedented. Different than what we saw from Tampa, different than what we saw from Minneapolis and their bridge collapse, because in this situation we have a ship, a vessel, that is nearly the size of the Eiffel Tower. that is now stuck because the Key Bridge, which is 3,000 to 4,000 tons of steel, is sitting on top of it. Inside the water, you have debris. Inside the water, you have wreckage, and you have a channel that is just clogged because the ship is still sitting there. So this is a remarkably complex operation. We know this is going to be a long road to recovery, but we know that we have to move with safety and we have to move with speed in order to get our commercial engine going again.
Well, Governor, I'm glad you mentioned the first responders, too. We know people around the clock since this happened in the middle of the night have been working there. They are brave souls, and we are indebted to them and to you and others who are working to right this situation. Governor, thank you.
Thank you, and God bless you, and happy Easter.
You too.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Tonight, a presidential gathering in Manhattan with one goal: save the Biden campaign. Bubba, Barack, and Biden at Radio City Music Hall for a fundraiser emceed by Stephen Colbert. Musical guests include Queen Latifah and Lizzo. And a very special guest, renowned artist Hunter Biden, is in the house. But the venue's surrounded by protesters. Not a single MAGA hat in sight. These are angry Democrats, furious with the Biden administration, angry at his foreign policy. Just another example of Biden's base collapsing. But inside, where it's warm, dry, and safe, this isn't your typical fundraiser. It's a heist. Tickets go as high as $500,000. If you want a picture with Barack, Bubba, and Biden, that'll be $100,000. The Biden campaign already announcing it's the biggest political fundraiser in American history.